Good morning. It is Wednesday, January the 28th of 2026. Downtown Wausau, the corner of Washington Street and North 3rd Street, another chilly start here in north central Wisconsin. Temperature of 7 below zero. I am Chad Holmes. It is the Wednesday edition of the Chad Holmes Show here on 98.9 WXCO, online at WXCO.FM, mobile devices and Alexa by searching WXCO on the Civic Media app and on YouTube at youtube.com and the 98.9 WXCO channel. Coming up in the second hour, of course, the first hour, we're here on 98.9 WXCO. Our second hour is strictly online on YouTube and also on the Sports 2 stream of WXCO.FM and the Civic Media app. Do you remember what I said we were going to talk about yesterday? Ian Welsh across the way?
Oh,
are you listening to me?
I remember it took me a second, but we were going to talk about the commentary made by the man down the road, because we're not technically allowed to say his name on air. We might get in trouble. The man down the road made a comment yesterday, and we are going to talk about it.
Yeah, because I think he's further, while the administration is actually trying to cover their rear end, he's still out there saying he wants more of this. So we're going to talk about that coming up in hour two. So I invite you to stick with us online for hour two. I mention it because I know there's a few of you out there who are tuned in here in hour number one. Very happy to welcome back across the table for the first time in a while, former mayor of Wausau, candidate for the Marathon County Board, Katie Rosenberg. Katie,
hello. How's it going? It's good to see you.
Long time no see.
It had maybe 2 years almost.
Actually, the last time I saw you was not here in the studio.
Oh.
There was an event with the Marathon County Public Library. They had a book festival.
Oh, yeah.
And there was a small little event here in downtown for an author who did a book on the 1960 Kennedy campaign in Wisconsin. I ran into you. That was a few months after you'd left office, and I kind of trying to weasel in to say, hey, come on by. But you said, you weren't going to do anything like that. And in fact, right after the election as well, I guess the first question
Here
is,
I am again.
Well, I wanted to ask you, after the election, because we've seen some folks who never get out of the spotlight. They just, every time that something happens, they'll get in front of their computer or their screen or a microphone and comment about it. But you kind of stepped away. What was your thinking right after the election?
Well, there are moments where you are offered an opportunity to reflect, and I was offered that opportunity. So I did. I got a new job. I love it. And I just kind of dove into that. And then I wondered, what the heck do I want to do with myself when I grow up? So book festival is one of those things. We're planning now for this year, so get excited. But yeah, I've just had a lot of good opportunities to figure out the kinds of things that I really care about. Not that I didn't know, but I can focus now. Being mayor, your attention is everywhere. Now I can focus very laser-like on things.
Let me ask you, what are you doing these days?
Yeah, so I have a political appointment. I'm the director of the Office of Environmental Justice. But if you want to hear me talk about that more, I won't be able to talk about it on the radio.
No, I understand.
People can know
that you do have gainful employment.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I've been working there since June of 2024. So
I guess one question about it is it fulfilling after being the mayor, being in knee deep into so much, but in those 4 years, such an incredible time. Are you finding yourself fulfilled in the work that you're doing?
Absolutely. Yeah. And I get to focus on issues that are really critical to me, to the people of Wisconsin. It's really great to be able to offer some insights to folks. I still have people calling, asking like, hey, how did you figure out how to do this lead service line thing? So, people know how to get in touch with me. And it has been really good.
I want to ask you a little bit about some of the issues of the mayoral time, but I want to actually start because you are getting back into public service here in this part of the state.
Yeah.
Just a few months ago, we read about you going to City Hall, writing down, hey, I would like to be part of a committee.
Yep.
What was the committee again?
Yes, it's the Police and Fire Commission. And obviously, it's a really important moment to be there based on some of the needs of the Wausau Fire Service, in addition to, we didn't even anticipate what could be happening nationally right now. So it's really important to have a voice with our local law enforcement, who are definitely not the same as our federal law enforcement.
Let me ask you about the decision to do that, because again, you know your way around City Hall, to say the least. When you saw the opening, what was your thought process?
I thought, why not? I'm not somebody who's afraid of putting myself out there. And I also recognize that not getting what you want isn't a failure or final failure, right? You still get to be the person you are. So I figured, why not? Let's put myself out there. And I had some good feedback immediately from folks on the council. I had a good conversation with the mayor about what I was hoping to accomplish. And the Police and Fire Commission is by statute very separate from the policy body. So it's definitely a different kind of an organization.
And again, public service.
Yeah.
Because I think that's something I really kind of want to delve into a little bit here. It seems to me, and again, you can correct me if I'm wrong, that it just kind of pulls you in, because as I think we'll talk about a little bit later on, it's not always roses when you're involved in public service. There are some bruises involved.
A lot of thorns.
A lot of thorns. That's a good way to put it. But yet you seem to be, and we'll talk about your next race coming up here, but it seems like something that you almost can't help yourself. Would that be fair to say?
Yeah, I unfortunately grew up in a very engaged family, from my grandparents to my dad to everyone. So it's one of those things that kind of comes naturally. And again, people always think that when you get voted out, or maybe if you lose a resolution or whatever, that's oh, it's an indictment and you're a loser forever. And that's just not the way it is. That's not how public policy works. And also, sometimes you realize I needed to bring the community along a little bit more on this, and that's important. So, I'm forever an optimist, unfortunately. And so that's what I'm doing now.
And is your work on the commission been what you expected? Are you getting that, again, that fulfillment that you're doing something positive for our community?
Yeah, it's good. It's good to know what's going on with our police and fire departments. They're doing a lot of really important good work, cultivating trust in our community. And, we have these opportunities to give people promotions. Just this week, an engineer was promoted to a lieutenant. It was really great to be able to participate in that process and celebrate with him. So it's good. And it's good to see their faces and people succeeding, and just saying thank you for the work we've done together. It's really fulfilling. So
let me ask you about maybe the advice you would give other folks, because I do think we talk about from time to time that for our system work, we need a number of different things. I think we need an educated populace that is aware of what the issues are and have information on how different either candidates for office or their public servants are thinking and voting. And also you need people that want to be involved. And I think it's in this era, it's a lot harder to try to put yourself out there, because there are, as you said, some thorns out there. For folks out there who may be thinking, maybe not in the even running for office, but maybe in a situation like you are in, being part of a city committee, what could you tell folks that the reasons that would be, again, maybe you can think about both sides of the idea, but for people to be involved? Because I do think that as we go into our 250th anniversary here as a country, that it's important that people in one way or another are involved in their government.
Absolutely. I think it's really critical that we have a diversity of voices that represent our community on these boards, elected to these bodies, all of this. And, you can look around and you can see there are folks, it's a lot of personality driven politics right now. And I don't necessarily know if that's the best way to approach things. I think it's important that people know where you stand. I think that people want to know, do you support policies that, hurt my neighbor? I think that's an important thing, but I don't think it always has to be about your personality. I think it has to be about, what are you doing for this community? How can you help solve these critical issues that are facing us? And that's not really the sexy part, but that's the part that matters the most. One of the most gratifying things for me is seeing programs that I put in place that are still going and they're still popular and important. So I just think focusing on that work is really much more important than focusing on your political whatever.
Let me ask you a question based on that. And I agree that that issue-based government is much better than personality-based government. I know that I can look in the mirror, and I think other folks who sit in front of microphones can look in the mirror as well, that maybe they're part of the problem in a certain way. How do we change that? Do you have any ideas? Because you've been in the, in that looking glass for a long time. Is there a way that we can recalibrate, or is it something that sort of has to sort of happen? Because I do think that
Mhm.
the behavior of folks in office does affect how that pendulum does swing back and forth. Do you have any ideas on how maybe we can take a step back from that whole personality based political climate that we seem to have, not just, from the national, but the statewide and local and everything else in between?
Yeah, well, first of all, it's not a magic wand, right? I wish we could wave one and be like, "Hey, we've changed our philosophy on this, and we're
But
going to
as a
work on the
former mayor, you
issues."
don't know all those.
Yeah, no, unfortunately not. I don't have Dave Obie's magic wand. Also, he didn't have one. So I think, it's not easy. It's cultivating trust, and you cultivate trust with your community. You cultivate trust with your colleagues. When I was elected mayor, I didn't have the best relationship with some folks on city council. But what I had to do was regularly reach out to them and try to get on the same page, or at least like explain where I was coming from. Not surprising people. I think that's something in politics that's really tough to deal with.
Mm.
If you're a member of a policy body and the executive surprises you with something, the first thing you're going to do is be like, wait a second, I didn't want this. Nobody asked for this. And so bringing people along with your thought process is really, really important. So it's not easy, it takes forever. But you just got to keep at it. You can't let your demons and your pettiness take over. It would be super easy for me to want to just blow everything up, right? I'm not going to do that.
Right.
We can't.
One of the interesting things about that response is that it reminds me, I think, of almost any job or workplace environment.
Exactly.
I mean, really.
A family member. Like it's the same thing. It's what we're seeing in Minnesota. They're cultivating trust with each other so
Yeah.
that they can rely on each other if they have a crisis. So it's important across the board. Get to know your neighbors, get to know your colleagues, and just regularly have that communication instead of blasting each other from newspaper pages.
And next up on the little itinerary to talk to you about is you are back into electoral politics. And
What's wrong with me,
I
man?
tell you, I mean, again, I think you got this this thing that does, it's like a moth to the light bulb.
Yeah.
You just have to go there. But what are you doing next?
Yeah, county board, let's do it. So District 1, I love it. I've loved my time on county board in the past, and so I still care about the same issues, and those same issues are top of mind right now. So
I want to talk about
let's
some
go.
of those issues, but we have to take a quick time
Oh
out.
yeah, we got to get paid, don't we?
I tell you,
Well,
you got to
do.
pay the bills here, but we have to take a quick time out. Then we'll come back and talk about some of the issues involved here in the county board. And actually, and it's something that here in 2026 that I want to do more of, because I think sometimes the county board gets lost in the shuffle a
Oh
little
yeah,
bit, and I think it's vitally important to talk.
I've got
about.
some feelings, man.
I bet you do. So we're going to come back, talk to Katie Rosenberg more as we continue on this Wednesday morning. Again, a chilly start, but it's a nice looking start. You got some blue skies and some sunshine, and ultimately the temperature will get back above zero. Along with Ian Welsh, I am Chad Holmes. The time is 8:19. It is the Chad Holmes Show, 98.9 WXCO, online at WXCO.FM, mobile devices and Alexa by searching WXCO on the Civic Media app, and on YouTube. Go to youtube.com and the 98.9 WXCO channel. And welcome back. Chad Holmes with you here on 98.9 WXCO and online. I won't list off all those different areas you can catch us. You know it. I say it all the time. And we're very happy to be joined here in studio by Katie Rosenberg, former Wausau mayor, candidate.
Hello.
District 1. That fits you perfectly, right? The
Yeah.
Marathon County Board. But yeah, you are running for the Marathon County Board.
Yep.
What are the issues that animate you in this run?
Yeah.
What have you noticed? I mean, because you, Bobby, we're watching things now from the outside a little bit. What jumps out?
Yeah, so I think the kind of moment that kind of got me percolating was during the budget process. And, I heard folks saying things like, we should sell the nursing home. We should figure out what to do with North Central Healthcare. And so things like that, the aquatic therapy pool that we worked so hard on.
Yeah.
That was the moment where I was like, we can't do this. Like, I need to make sure my person knows that I don't stand for this. And I don't think our whole district does. So I'm talking to him and I did ask him, I was like, you're running for reelection, right? And when he said he wasn't, I was like, oh, well, who's running? And he said, well, I've been talking to some people. And I was like, well, just stop talking. I was like, I have enough passion still about, health and human service issues for sure. But, across the board, what we're seeing nationally right now, I was at the library last night and it was an overflow room for a discussion on that 287G agreement that the sheriff's department signed.
Right.
And so people are paying attention and they want to know more. And the questions people were asking were very specific, very important. And, the county board had a meeting, so there's nobody there that can answer a question about that stuff. So it's important. I think this moment requires it, right?
Isn't that interesting, though, that I think there is a sense, and again, maybe even for myself once in a while, that people are not engaged on the issues as we were just talking about personality. But then you get an example that sort of reinvigorates your hope for the entire system, because as I said, the only way the system works is if people show up at these kind of events,
you
right?
have to participate. And across the board, you have to participate. Again, though, step one, just know your neighbors. I think that is something that we're losing. And maybe it's partially COVID, partially, I don't know, this online culture. But we need to get out of our homes and talking to our neighbors. We need to know what animates them. We need to make sure that we're helping each other.
The idea of local government.
Yes.
I think so much of our lives rotate around what the president says or what the Congress says or even what the governor says or what the state legislature says and does. You still have that ultimate passion because you could have run for different offices. You could have run. No, you could have. You could have run for different offices, but yet you still seem to have this laser-like focus on what's happening in your backyard.
Yeah.
Why is that? Why is your backyard? And I think a lot of people would be better served by using their energies to try to do things, whether it is through talking to your city council person or the mayor or a school board member, county board member. There's so much that can be done here in our backyard, isn't there?
Yeah, there is. And I think, when you show up to a city council meeting or when you show up to a county board meeting as a citizen and have a public comment, you are talking to people who live within a few miles of you and they're listening to you. And I think it's a lot, I'm not going to say it's easy, but it's a lot more accessible to kind of change the ordinances and the statutes locally to match your values. I think that is doable. I don't know if you've ever tried to go to a public hearing at the legislature or the House or the Senate. I've never attended something in the House or the Senate. It's scary. It's intimidating as a person, I'm assuming. But I've done this at the state level. My voice shook when I was talking to these committees. It is nerve-wracking. And so you also wonder, am I making an impact? Are these people's minds decided already?
Right.
I don't know, because this person is from Dodgeville or this, I only know what feedback I get live. So
what other issues are you looking at in terms of the future on the Marathon County Board? Anything else stand out that you're hoping to be a positive influence on?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of discussion that we could have as it relates to our water table and our water issues. Obviously, I'm still very much focused on water as an issue. And I think that we should be focused as a county on some of these things. They've done some good things with, they had a Fenwood Creek kind of a project that they did with the state that was successful.
Mhm.
Farmers were engaged, but I do think we need to like very specifically focus on this. We're talking about biosolids and land spreading and PFAS, right? There's some things that we could have a conversation about. Data centers? I mean, I don't know if we're talking about this at a county level. I mean, maybe some folks are,
Mhm.
but what do we do? What if we're approached? What do we say? What if they approach a town that doesn't have their own zoning? Well, how are we going to support that town? That's
Well,
a discussion we need to have.
but let me ask you about that, because that is something that I want to talk about just with gubernatorial candidates and candidates of all stripes, because things have happened so quickly
Mhm.
in that realm.
We
with
don't
the
have
AI.
the right laws
I
to
don't
regulate.
and do we have the folks that actually understand it? Because I mean, I have to admit, there's a lot that I don't understand.
Of
I'm sure there's
course.
a lot of other folks that. Do you have ideas on what steps you'd like to see maybe taken as quickly as possible? Because things are happening so quickly when it
Right.
comes to the AI revolution, the data centers,
Mhm.
and everything else going on.
Yeah. So I don't know if you recall back, I don't know if it was 2017 or 2018 when the law changed for metallic mining. And the county was then, it was important that the county created its own ordinance to kind of have regulation and oversight of metallic mining should it show up in this county.
Mhm.
So we went straight to work. And we were the first county in the state to have an ordinance. And so I'm imagining a world where that's the kind of discussion we have. Do I know if Marathon County is even a place where one of these companies would be looking? Not necessarily. Again, like what are they looking for? They're looking for transmission. They're looking for water. They're looking so like thinking about
Mhm.
what they're looking for is important. But maybe we do need to have a work group to be focused on this, to start thinking about best practices as it relates to policy making.
Mhm.
So I can imagine that being something that works.
Absolutely. Coming up on the bottom of the hour, we have an information update coming up. We'll have the farm report. We'll also have news, sports, and weather. And then we'll come back and have more with Katie Rosenberg. I want to talk a little bit about the crazy 4 years in office.
Oh boy.
Hey, we got to learn a little something here. If you don't learn from the past, you're bound to repeat mistakes and also forget the successes in the future. So we'll have more with Katie Rosenberg coming up here on WXCO. And welcome back, Chad Holmes Show, 98.9 WXCO, WXCO.FM, mobile devices, and Alexa by searching WXCO Civic Media app and on YouTube at youtube.com and the 98.9 WXCO channel. We are joined by former Wausau Mayor, candidate for the Marathon County Board, Katie Rosenberg. Were you surprised on election night?
You know, you spend a lot of time knocking on doors and talking to people, and you can get a feeling. I had a moment the last weekend we were knocking on doors, and a guy like ripped my face up on my lid, and I was like, "This isn't good."
Mhm.
So like anytime you run for anything, literally anything can happen, right? I mean, the voters are fickle, and people are unhappy, right? I mean, if you are saying things like, I'm going to lower your water rates and I'm going to lower your apartment rents, like that has somebody's imagination, right? Like they want that. So, I mean, good luck.
Something that you have not wrote a lot about it, but from time to time you'll sometimes some cryptic messages.
Cryptic?
Well, I mean, not going to delve deep into it, but you talked about 1 week ago today, you put a posting.
Oh,
that was
sure.
the 4th anniversary of finding out that this is what you wrote. Is it on this day 4 years ago? I learned that every single one of Wausau's drinking water wells was contaminated with PFAS. Someday I might write something public facing on what that was all really like. But for now, I'm just going to try to not ruminate too much and be glad that I acted the way that I did.
Mm-hmm.
And you said in 2024, the new GAC filtration system was turned on, and Wausau residents are drinking water with reliably non-detectable levels of PFAS. Water is life.
Mm-hmm.
Before I ask you about the pride of that,
yeah.
I want to ask you generally that you seem to be somebody that, as you said earlier, I think you don't take personally losses, but at the same time, you're very comfortable, I think, with the processes that you use to make decisions. Would that be fair to say that over those 4 years, you feel comfortable with the decisions, the big decisions that you made over those 4 years?
Yeah, there might be some like little petty things that like, I could have probably been a little less combative here or there, or maybe I could have been more outspoken on something that people needed to hear. But, at a certain point, like I did what I did, and I feel I can sleep at night. And generally no nightmares unless, the world is the way it is. But, it's important to me that when I'm making a decision, I have trusted advisors. I am doing it for the right reason and not a political reason. And, that's what we do.
I'm a big fan of the Smothers Brothers. And I read a book about the Smothers Brothers. And for folks out there who are much younger than I, and actually they're beyond me, but back in the late 60s, they were they had a great club act, and then they got a CBS series in the late 60s, a variety show. And back then you didn't really talk politics in variety shows, but they would bring up politics, and they would use humor and satire, and it got them into trouble because they would go after the president. They would talk about Vietnam and interracial marriage and a lot of the hot button issues of the late 1960s. And then they got fired, not because they were still in the top 20 in the ratings. And one of the brothers said, we were at the scene of the accident. That basically this was not a plan of theirs, but the world was what it was.
Yep.
So they had to talk about it.
Yeah.
They had to do things.
Yeah.
And your 4 years started with COVID, PFAS.
Yeah.
I would say the pushback on community for all.
Yep.
In a lot of ways, that 4 years, it was sort of like you were at the scene of the accident.
Yep.
Would that be fair to say?
Yeah, you can't run away from it. You have to either face it head on or say, this isn't something that matters to me. So it mattered to me. All of that mattered. Clean water matters, right? People's health and safety, that mattered. I still am not over some of the things I saw and heard from people whose beloved relatives and friends died because they caught COVID when it could have been prevented. And so I will never feel bad about this stuff. But again, that is the price you pay for being public-facing person. And if people don't like that, well, there is an option, and they chose it.
And actually, one of the things as well I wanted to talk to you about is we are seeing some of the results, even after you've left office now for nearly 2 years. I mean, every time that you would come in during your term, we'd see across the
Oh, look at
street, you know? And I know that that was very difficult. You had to
Ugh.
fight in order to make sure that this project continued in the way that
We
it would
changed the
work.
whole agreement because of some of the things I wanted to have in there. And it's a better development agreement because of it. So, again, seeing the results is important, and it doesn't matter who's cutting ribbons and
Mhm.
who's saying words. It got done. So, same thing with PFAS, right?
Well, let's delve into that
Yeah.
again as you talk about that whole situation and seeing what the results are today. When you look back at the whole process, again, uh, would you do anything differently? Are you again able to say, okay, I in every step, and again, I don't want you to say, well, based on now, I would obviously do
Sure.
things differently, but knowing who you are, knowing the
Yeah.
people that you work with, knowing the situation, as you said, when you look back at that, how do you maybe in a certain odd way grade yourself in the whole process, and then as you look today with what you wrote last week, I
Yeah.
think a sense of pride that you were able to do something that has made, I think, probably the job of the folks at City Hall a lot easier because you
Mhm.
took a lot of that weight on your shoulders.
Yeah. So I'm not going to grade myself because, there's a couple different components that like maybe I could have handled some of that better.
Mhm.
Um I generally feel good about how I reacted. Like I said. But I think maybe there were some moments where I was talking to folks who maybe weren't as helpful in addressing the solution, that I should have focused on other places, right?
Mhm.
But what can you do? Again, you're trying to understand where policymakers, people who work on this stuff every day, regulators, that natural resources board, lawmakers. But, we're seeing the effects even still rippling through the state legislature on this, right? There is a bill right now talking about that trust fund that I advocated for in 2022, 2023, that 2023 budget. It is finally coming back around, and there is a tentative agreement between the DNR, the governor's office, and the legislature, right? And so
Mhm.
seeing that makes me feel so good. It means that people are going to have access to $150 million of funding to help address PFAS. There are other communities that are in WASA's feet right now, footsteps, feet, whatever. They need that money.
Absolutely. Something else. Again, I shouldn't be reading what you've written, but
Oh boy,
this one caught me with everything going on
you've
in.
taken some deep notes.
It, turn it off, Ian, for a second.
For the public, we're just making sure.
I'm getting choked up here. No,
Oh.
when you get something that's caught in your throat and you just right, you don't want to cough,
Oh,
but you
yeah.
just got to clear it for a moment.
Yeah, it gets
But-
worse the more you think about it.
But you actually wrote a couple of days ago that, it kind of moved me a little bit because you talked about nightmares for nearly 4 years.
Oh, yeah.
During those years.
Yeah, it was tough.
Could you talk about, again, you put this out there. What was your thinking when you said, I'm going to put this out there to let people know? And what was that experience like?
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that when you are the one and the only in a position, so mayor, the executive, you take a lot of that worry on. And there were moments where I felt unsafe. And, I wasn't quiet about it to the people in City Hall. I made sure that I was like, are you feeling safe? Like sometimes people would come in and maybe they were very upset about something. And sometimes it wasn't even a city issue. And so, that was part of the reason we put the security system in. And I've heard from employees and they do feel safer, which makes me feel good. But again, like there are just moments where like decisions you've made have upset people and you don't know what kind of reaction you'll get. And, seeing what's happening now in Minnesota, across the country, the violence, and it feels like it's political violence. I think that's not a wrong way to describe it. It feels so, it's not even like you couldn't anticipate it, right? Like with Alex Preddy, you wouldn't have been able to anticipate this. Renee Good, it just happened and it's so shocking. And so that's another thing. It feels like it shook loose some of that trauma from what I was working through. And so the nightmares are back a little bit.
Right.
And I'm just trying so hard to be healthy. Again, like everybody, work through your feelings, talk to a therapist is really important.
The stress. I mean, there
Yeah.
had to be a lot of stress. And you said, you had, it sounds like you had the ability to share it with other people. A lot of
Yeah.
people don't. And I think that when they take that on, that stress just builds and builds and builds.
Yeah.
But I think that's a positive aspect that you were able to share it with other people that you trust.
Yeah, I think that's probably a trend throughout my life. I'm sure I've learned it from my parents and my grandparents. It was just, it's something that we talk about how we're feeling. And, I don't think mental health should be a stigma. I think we should talk to each other about how we're feeling, checking in with folks, making sure that we're okay. And especially people who are working on the front lines of whatever it is. I certainly hope that people who are in elected office right now are making sure that they are mentally healthy so they can make the best decisions that they want to make.
And the line that kind of jumped out again, but if you see kids being thrown into the water, please save them. And to be honest with you, when I saw that line, it reminded me of what Alex Preddy was doing.
Hmm.
He was there to pick up a neighbor who got
Yeah.
knocked down,
Yeah.
and then he lost his life. And it
It's
it
scary.
breaks me up a little bit.
I
And still
know.
thinking about it because you looked at that young man. And last night I was watching till I got home after doing a broadcast late last night, and I saw a picture of him. It showed him talking to one of the ICE agents, and something that even just a few days after this ended, that I think people forget, with all the other things that are going on and all the discussions that are going on, that person is not with us anymore.
Yeah.
And I mean, and again, I just think that sometimes going right to the basics is so vitally important when it comes to uh the job that you did and that you want to do again at the county level, and the folks that are here downtown. You can think about a lot of the big issues, but boy, it's about human beings, isn't it?
It is always about human beings, right? And like no amount of politics can change that the decision you're making is going to affect someone's life. Whether that is their pocketbook, whether that is the services they're able to avail themselves of, whether that's their health insurance and the rates and the subsidies, right? Like everything you do affects people. And so keeping people front and center of why you're in public service is really important. Again, it's easy to get into a mode of saying like, well, I'm this fancy politician and I'm doing what I want and this is who I am. But again, like none of that matters if you're not focused on the right things and the people.
We got about 1 minute till our final break of the hour, but based on that, again, when we talk about local politics, local government, you get more of that here, don't you?
Oh my gosh.
That one-on-one where the
Yes.
humanity, as you said, even the hearings are different, but you really do get that when you get involved locally as opposed to maybe statewide or federal.
Yeah, absolutely. You have the ability to wrap your arms around something. Often things are explained in a little bit more of an accessible language when you're able to. So, and again, like when I think about it, these people who are running county government, city government, like they're living in my neighborhood.
Mhm.
I see them every day when I'm on my walk. So it's really critical that we're having these open and honest conversations. And, if we got to stop and chat for a second at the driveway, we're going to do it.
Which is again, it reminds me of the again 250 years. Remember hearing the stories of the founding, where you'd have the town square and everyone would get together before they had phones and had internet.
Bring back the town crier.
There you go, and everybody would come in and they would talk about their ideas, and that's what we'd love to. We'd love to, I think, for 250th anniversary, let's have that. Let's talk about ideas. A few more minutes with Katie Rosenberg to wrap up the hour, coming up next here on 98.9 WXCO.
Good light in your
And welcome back, Chad Holmes Show here on 98.9 WXCO. Again, with our new format, we have the first hour live here on 98.9 WXCO. And of course, stick with us after 9 o'clock, starting at 9:06. You can tune in on YouTube at youtube.com and the 98.9 WXCO channel. You can go to WXCO.FM and the Civic Media app and click on the Sports 2 stream. We have the primary stream and then the Sports 2 stream. And we continue because I always have more to say. And
Shocker.
I know. So hopefully you all can join us. And of course, after 10 o'clock, we put the entire 2 hours as a podcast. You can get that on Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts and at our website as well. A few more minutes with Katie Rosenberg, former Wausau mayor and candidate for the Marathon County Board. Something that kind of builds on what's been going on in Minneapolis, and I think the country is large. And I think it goes back again a number of years. I think, again, maybe you're ahead of the curve and others ahead of the curve, not just you. Obviously, a lot of folks have been fighting for this idea of a community for all and trying to be a place that people could all come to and feel comfortable with. As we look back at all that discussion as well, it's crazy to think again that there are two sides to that issue, but yet there were. What do you think, maybe looking back at it, and maybe what do you think about the future? Do you think that maybe I'd like to see things, and I'm not always thrilled about the fact that we have these pendulums. I think that people need to start thinking about the ideas and the issues that they should vote for every time and not go back and forth. But do you think that after hopefully maybe no more than a little more time with this anger that comes from the top and trickles down, that we'll see maybe the thought that, hey, we do need to bring more thought and kindness into our public discourse?
Yeah, I sure hope so. Because I do think, that corrosive kind of scenario that we're encountering and engaging with every day, it really takes a toll on your humanity. I know that if I'm listening to news all day, I am cranky at night, and because it's devastating, and I don't think we should talk to each other the way we're talking to each other. I certainly don't want to be the person perpetuating any of that kind of violent rhetoric. And so, yes, I do hope that we can get to a point where we are truly, a community for all in that aspect, that people feel welcome. They feel that they can talk through their issues. They feel that they matter. And like, whether or not there's a resolution doesn't really matter. I think it's how we engage with the public and how we engage with each other. I'm going to do my best to be the person who can take it, right? So,
are you saying that legislation like that really is not the most important aspect of it? That
I'm not sure.
Maybe the idea, or
I'm not part of a marginalized group necessarily. And so it's hard for me to sit here saying, like, we're all equal. It's fine. I recognize that people experience the world differently. And it's important that sometimes we do need to memorialize that, hey, we care about your thoughts and your feelings and that you feel included. And we're not going to just like skim over the fact that you said you experienced this thing. I think that's an important thing. But again, like, the way that discussion happened in Marathon County was awful.
Right.
And I hope we don't have a discussion like that again.
And I guess finally in our last few minutes, it is 2026. And I said to you that off the air, I think it was, that, in 2024, you were kind of at the front edge of a certain year. It was a tough year for certain.
I felt like a bellwether a little bit after November.
What do you think is going to happen here in 2026? And again, maybe as well, what do you hope we're talking about? Because there's elections and so many different levels, including as with yourself. What are the things that you'd like to hear? Maybe the folks that are running for governor, and maybe all the way down to county board and school board and everything else. What should we be talking about in 2026?
Yeah, I mean, I think, first of all, conventional wisdom is dead. So anybody that's telling you like, oh, well, always with the president here and these are the kind of people that get elected, like, don't listen to that. You know what you need to do? You need to get out there and talk to your neighbors, and you need to vote. You have to commit to that. Okay, but what do I hope people are talking about? The usual things: clean water, clean air, good governance, transparent governance. I hope that we're talking about policies that make us prosper as a community, and a lot of times those discussions happen during a budget cycle. I hope we can start our budget cycle earlier so that maybe we can talk about some of the things we'd like to inject that do make those changes important. Instead of just being like, oh, we cut it this low. Well, let's talk about the services that people are needing, right? Like this nursing home thing. I'm going to keep hammering it because it's so critical. Our community is getting older. We need to make sure that we are serving everyone. That nursing home has served. I watched my great grandmother in that nursing home. I watched my grandparents in that nursing home. And I'm sure that I will watch my family members who are listening, and I'm not going to mention who they are. They're going to go to that nursing home too, because it's a really important service that we have. So we need to continue on with these services that help our community prosper and that help our community be healthy.
Real quickly, you talk about that. You mentioned you kind of touched on, I think, shared revenue earlier.
Oh,
Do we need to think bigger when it comes to because knock on wood for you that you'll be in a new position talking about some of these things. Do we have to? Then you talk about this. Often things happen so quickly.
Right.
They don't have time to really talk about the way things should be. What kind of changes, if you you don't have that magic wand, but what kind of changes in the relationship maybe between Madison and the county and the communities? What can be done to make things better?
Yeah, well, the thing with county board is that you just have this really natural relationship with the state government. I mean, everything that the county board can do is outlined in state statute. So that natural relationship should be, we're hearing from our legislators, we're hearing from our folks who are running state government. So I think that conversation needs to continue happening, right? There was a discussion last night at county board that was talking through, should we lobby for, I don't know, I don't even know necessarily the details of the issue that they were talking through. But I think instead of that, like, let's talk about shared revenue. I mean, school board, let's talk about school funding. That is critical right now. So I think this funding discussion needs to evolve. It was great. It was a one-time fix, but we need to keep having this. It's an ongoing thing. It's not a set it and forget it thing.
Absolutely. It's been great to talk to you. It's always interesting.
This hour really went fast.
I know. This is a great thing because anytime it's a good day on the job when you're not looking at the clock. Katie Rosenberg, thank you again.
Thank you so much.
We're going to take a time out. We'll be back at 9:06 on YouTube and the Sports 2 stream. So hope you can join us. Chad Holmes Show, WXCO.
All I need is a TV show, that and the radio. Down on my luck again, down on my luck again. I can show you some of the people in my life. I can show you some of the people in my life. It's driving me mad. Just another way of passing the day.
And good morning once again, everyone, and welcome back. It is hour number 2 of the Chad Holmes Show, 98.9 WXCO, but here in hour number 2, exclusively online, youtube.com and the 98.9 WXCO channel, and also on WXCO.FM and the Civic Media app on the Sports 2 stream. So again, if you are somebody that wants to get the audio here in hour number 2, Sports 2 stream of WXCO.FM and the Civic Media app. 4 degrees below zero here in downtown Wausau. We are at the corner of Washington Street and North 3rd Street in downtown Wausau. It's been cold for about a week or so here. And it should get a little warmer by the time we get towards the weekend. Across the way is our in-studio engineer, the man who puts me on the air, the man who plays the music, the guy who will answer the phones. And if you're out there, if you would like to respond to what we heard in the past hour with former Mayor Katie Rosenberg, you can join us at 715-814-9330, 715-814-9330. And the person that you'll hear pick up that phone is Mr. Ian Welsh. Ian, good morning.
Good morning, Chad.
It was great to have the former mayor in. I have not had a
Yeah.
chance to talk to her since she had left office. A lot on the plate. And again, one of the things that is, and I'll say this about Republicans, Democrats, Green Party, whatever it may be, anybody who puts their hat in the ring, puts themselves out there, and deserves the utmost respect. You can agree or disagree on certain policies, but our system does not work unless citizens step up and be part of our local government. And again, I find it very impressive because she is somebody that could run for a state office, could be in the assembly or something, or state senate, or
absolutely
anything like that. But she seems to have such a passion for our local government, being a mayor for 4 years and now running again for the Marathon County Board and doing things closer to the home base. I just think is incredibly impressive. So again, it's wonderful to hear from her. As we get into 2026, we will be reaching out to others who are running for county board and other local offices as well to join us and to be able to talk about the issues that are passionate, that they are passionate about as well.
2026 is going to be a very big election year for sure.
And the thing about it as well is that we have some of the elections will be in the spring, and then we'll have some of the elections in the fall. And the county board is
Make
coming
sure you
up
get
shorter.
out there and vote.
Yep.
If you don't vote, our system doesn't work.
And you can't complain. No complaints if you don't vote, right?
Exactly. There's plenty of ways out there to vote. It's our responsibility to, however we do it, if we go to the polling place and fill out a ballot, or if we do the drop box, or if we do it any other way, the important thing is that we vote. Because if we don't vote, as Tom Hartman always says, democracy is not a spectator sport.
You're exactly right. One thing I didn't ask about, I didn't ask her about drop boxes. Oh, I missed that. I doubt she wanted to talk about drop boxes, but that's the current.
I'm sure that would have
issue.
been a very interesting conversation in of itself.
No, we had so much else to talk about. So again, it was a lot of fun.
It does take a lot of courage to put your head in the ring and put yourself out there to run for any office. I mean, For me, it compares to like, being involved in theater. I mean, just putting
Right.
yourself out there on a stage in front of a lot of people you don't know, and having the courage to go out there and challenge yourself. It's just, I take my metaphorical hat off to you.
Exactly. So, again, going up to somebody's door, knocking on it to talk about
It's not
political
easy.
issues, not easy at all. Some housekeeping here to take care of. Again, the phone number to join us, 715-814-9330, 715-814-9330. Also, again, I want to remind folks that coming up tonight, it's another edition of the Big High School Sports Show, 6 till 8 p.m. right here on 98.9 WXCO. Online at WXCO.FM, mobile devices, and Alexa by searching WXCO, and on the Civic Media app. BJ Brandt and myself will talk about what's going on in high school sports, whether it's basketball or hockey. We will have a coach guest and a student athlete guest. Our coach guest at 6:30 tonight will be Katie Gates. She is the first-year head coach of the Newman Catholic girls basketball team. She was also a Newman graduate, won state championships for Newman Catholic back in her playing days. So you'll be able to talk about those great successes and now trying to build the Newman girls basketball program. So first-year head coach Katie Gates at 6:30. And then our student athlete guest at 7:06 will be from Wausau West Hockey, junior goaltender Julian Scalcucci. And the Warriors improved to 18-1 last night with a victory over East Merrill United 12-1 at Marathon Park,
Very
game that
nice.
we had right here on 98.9 WXCO. So again, a couple of terrific guests tonight and a lot of high school sports talk. 6 till 8 p.m., the Big High School Sports Show, 98.9 WXCO. Also, I know that while I was busy last night doing high school hockey, you were busy continuing your rehearsal process. And we're going to keep getting updates as you continue. You are in the 25th annual Putnam County Spelling Bee.
That's right.
One of
Your
the
second
roles.
rehearsal last night.
So you're just starting. You're just starting to, you had a read through. Have you started blocking it all yet?
We haven't started the blocking yet. However, last night was our first music rehearsal, going through a lot of the big group numbers and making sure we get those parts and harmonies have figured out. And I'll say this, and I hope I'm not jinxing myself here, but compared to the last show I was a part of, where the music was kind of, very complicated and all over the place, it's nice to be a part of this show because the music is not overly complicated. So it's nice to have a show where you're not stressing out too much about the music. So far, I could change, but it's off to a good start.
Very good. So just have a lot of fun.
Absolutely.
Start that process, and it's
Yeah.
about a little less than 2 months of rehearsal time, right? About 6
Mhm.
6 weeks or so.
Yeah, 6 weeks.
So again, the show will be held at the University of Wisconsin Stevens Point at Wausau campus, the Venega Theater.
Beautiful theater.
Yep, in late March, and we'll of course get you more details on that as well.
That's right.
In fact, something I have to do when I get off the air today, because last night, and actually when I was on the air during my hockey broadcast last night, got reached out from one of the leaders of the Central Wisconsin Children's Theater.
Oh, yeah?
Going to try to get a few of the performers on from to have a few people from CWCT's Lady Pirates, as well as some cast members from Sweeta's Shrek. So we have the Central Wisconsin Children's Theater.
Behind the scenes videos of the Children's Theater's pirate show, and it's really coming along very nicely.
Absolutely.
They're having a lot of fun with that show.
Absolutely. So, Ian, I'm going to ask you to go check the front doors. There's somebody there, so I'm going to ask you to go check that out real quickly.
Absolutely. I'll be right back.
We have the small operation here, so I'm going to continue here. A reminder that, again, you can join us at 715-814-9330. That's 715-814-9330 to join us here on the program. And coming up here in just a moment, we will have Sean Wright with us, as we kept him waiting for a few moments, and I hope he didn't get too cold. Sean Wright will take a seat. And what we're going to do, Ian, we're going to take our break right now, come back in 2 minutes and talk to Sean Wright, okay? That is Ian across the way back in his seat, and we'll come back and talk to the executive director of the Grand Theater, Sean Wright, in just a moment as we continue here on 98.9 WXCO. I'm Chad Holmes, joined former Wausau West head hockey coach BJ Brandt and myself every Wednesday night from 6 till 8 p.m. for the Big High School Sports Show on 98.9 WXCO, online at WXCO.FM, mobile devices and Alexa by searching WXCO on the Civic Media app, and also broadcasting live on the 98.9 WXCO YouTube channel. Each week we'll be talking high school winter sports. We'll review and preview the basketball and hockey action with both the boys and the girls, and each week we'll also be joined by an area head coach and a student athlete guest as well. It's the Big High School Sports Show every Wednesday night from 6 till 8 p.m. on Central Wisconsin's radio home for high school sports. 98.9 WXCO, online at WXCO.FM, mobile devices and Alexa by searching WXCO on the Civic Media app, and broadcasting live on YouTube.com and the 98.9 WXCO channel.
Local radio thrives when it serves the community. WXCO is no different, and we're looking to add someone to our staff that is well connected around town. Someone who can help our local businesses increase traffic and their visibility among our audience. From connecting clients with high school sports, local news and weather, or the Chad Holmes Show. If you know local business owners, we'd like to get to know you. If you'd like to know more about this opportunity, send me, Chad Holmes, a message at chad.holmes@civicmedia.us. That's chad.holmes@civicmedia.us. And let's set up a time to talk.
Can you feel it? Can you feel it? Can you feel it?
And welcome back. It is the Chad Holmes Show here on 98.9 WXCO. You can catch us on YouTube right now, youtube.com, and the 98.9 WXCO channel, WXCO.FM, Civic Media app again, and click on the Sports 2 stream. And it is time again to talk to our friend Sean Wright. And Sean, I have to apologize. I saw you out there freezing as we were waiting to come in because our doorbell wasn't ringing, so Isabella couldn't hear it.
Yes.
And I'm thinking, oh, what are we going to do here? I said, Ian, go over there, get Sean in here before he falls over, because when he came in here, even when you were talking, it's cold outside.
It's cold outside. You know,
Sorry to keep you waiting out there.
It's all good. We keep trying to convince ourselves that, like, well, it's only -1 this morning, so it's not bad.
I know,
it was -25 on Saturday. Like, no, it's still cold.
That is a fair point.
And I was just saying to you before we get into all the things that have been going on with the Grand Theater, I gave you my conspiracy theory about Pat Murphy and the Brewers, because the Brewers traded away Freddie Peralta, and I was so mad about this. But it was right after Pat Murphy had come to Wausau.
Yeah,
I think you guys, I think the Brewers did not want to get all those questions from the Wausau audience.
I think they did. They knew the Wausau audience was going to, have all the hardcore questions. You know, it was funny though with your conspiracy theory. The number of people that I talked to that night who were like, "We love Murph. We love Murph." Now the organization, I got some problems, and it was like those. I appreciate that people can separate the fact that the manager doesn't control the roster; he controls the lineup card. But
I'm not even sure that Matt Arnold controls the roster.
No,
have an evening with Mark Antanasio. I bet you saw that one out.
Oh, I'm sure there would be some questions.
But no, that was, again, I mean, just a wonderful event, and it's wonderful to have Murphy come here to Wausau.
Yeah,
I've heard folks who were there that were thrilled with it.
Murph just did a great job with it, along with with Lance Allen, and they just, when you book these type of things, you go like, I mean, okay, people are going to be excited, and it's Brewers manager, obviously they're coming off some great years, but how's the show going to be?
Right.
But it was fun. They took time, and they leaned into the different things. He's FaceTiming players. He's telling stories like it was really, a lot of fun. And I think, somebody said, they're like, I was always on his side when he got kicked out of a game before, but now I definitely am.
By the way, did Lance Allen bring back his old days working at Channel
Oh,
12?
oh yes, yes, we absolutely chatted about that. His days at, as he said, he goes, the TV landscape at that time was, they told me, if you want to stay on as a sports reporter, you can learn how to do the weather. And he said, I'm not a meteorologist. And they said, just read what's on the screen. And that was what he did.
I'm old enough to remember when Lance was in this market. So he went off to do incredible work down in the Milwaukee area as well. Also, congratulations to you. Got a nice little honor, didn't you?
Yeah, thank you. I've been selected to join the APAP board of directors. APAP is, of course, the Association of Arts Presenters, and it's the largest group of presenters like us, but also it's arts professionals. We changed that name a couple of years ago. Old habits die hard. Presenters like the Grand, and producers, the people who produce all the shows that come here, agents who represent them, and then the artists who star in them. So it is a huge ecosystem. The big conference in New York a couple of weeks back had about 3,000 attendees, and literally we've got members all across, primarily across North America, but also Europe, Asia as well. And honored to be a part at the same time as we were chatting off air. It just means, here, join this committee, join this committee, come to this DC for these 2 days, come to New York for these 2 days. So it's nice to have the press release. Then the reality is, no, you got to get to work.
Hey, they expect the talent to show up, and you're the talent this time. Usually you're saying the talent to show up to the Grand.
Yeah.
Now you're the talent.
Yeah,
So there you
so,
go. But again,
better
congrats.
choice as a talent out there. But
What's been going on? Because I mean, I'm guessing that you haven't slowed down all that much, because it never seems to slow down at the Grand Theater.
No, it is odd just with the way the schedule broke. We're actually in the midst of here about a 10-day break without any shows, and we kind of don't know what to do with ourselves. But
you did
there's
have
a
some
lot
shows recently, though.
Yeah, we did. We last week was a full week. Obviously the Pat Murphy show was just a super, super fun night, and we had Colin Ray, the country music legend, on Friday night, and appreciated the fact that despite the fact it was 25 below, I think we had over 90% of our ticket holders attend. And so, it was kind of funny. Both shows this weekend, we had people, or last weekend, the artists saying, well, is anybody going to come out? We hear it's going to be 25 below zero. And I'm like, it's Wisconsin. People will be there. And,
by the way, real quickly, I saw on your Facebook postings over the weekend talking about the cancellation policies. Basically, with the Grand Theater, there's so many moving parts. You kind of, unless the roof is coming off the place, the show is going to happen.
Yeah, if there's some sort of major crisis with the facility, or if the artist can't be there, can't get there, and then occasionally there are situations where we work with the artist and say, listen, it's just not, it's not going to be safe for us to get crew here, or for you to travel here. And I mean, I think you don't see a lot. Broadway is one, of course, that really obviously tries to stay on the road as much as they can. Well, they were one of the shows, The Music Man, is actually in the Southeast this weekend into this week, and they've lost a lot of shows just simply because the artist could probably get to the venue, but of course you've got, especially as you get into Mississippi and Southern Tennessee, you've got so many places where people don't have power, and where roads are refreezing every night, and so it's just not safe. But it's a collaborative decision. But yes, the default is, if the artist can make it there, the show goes on.
Right. And frankly, again, as you said, it was cold, but doggone, we're used to it. I mean, as long as the roads are clear, I think it's much better to be a little bit colder than have 20 inches of snow.
Yeah, no, it was it's been sort of funny talking this week with some agent friends, either in Nashville or in New York. I talked to one agent yesterday who literally sort of replied quickly from his iPhone saying, yep, got the offer, sorry, still don't have power, so found my way to a Starbucks to try and do a little work. And talking to agents in New York, were like, how much snow did you get? I said, no, actually, like nothing. And meanwhile they got 2 feet, so it's just it was quite the storm, and a huge disruption to the performing arts touring industry.
I wanted to ask you about the classic albums, Live Lithium, because that took me right back to college, because I worked on my college radio station early 90s.
Mhm.
That's where I got my start, and my playlist involved so much of that
Yeah.
type of music. How did that go?
Really, really great show. The thing I liked most about it was they did sort of blocks of each artist. So, started with a block of Stone Temple Pilots, and then one of Soundgarden, one of Alice in Chains, Pearl Jam, uh, and then after the intermission, kind of mixed it up and did some of the, I don't want to say one hit wonders because there certainly were artists who had one, but did sort of the key songs. Brought out a really amazing female vocalist who did "Zombie" by the Cranberries. Did "You Ought to Know"? Did "Connection" by Elastica, and then finish with the block of Nirvana songs, of course, to end the night. And so it was a really fun night. I think the thing that I liked most about it, other than the artists themselves were really talented, was it did bring in a younger crowd, and it wasn't the younger folks my age, your age, others who appreciated back in the time. I actually enjoyed seeing we had a lot of high school kids, college kids. There was actually a group of about half dozen high school kids who bought rush tickets and went and stood all the way up in the top row of the balcony because they wanted to stand the whole night. And I kept looking up at them, and they knew, I don't know if they knew every word, but pretty close as they were in there. One was in a Nirvana t-shirt, another one was wearing Foo Fighters. And I texted my sister, who's, in the same age range. And I said, I think we're going to be okay. The humanity, you wonder at times, but if the high schoolers are up there singing every word to Pearl Jam, we're going to be fine.
And as they move forward, they'll probably take a look at the schedule and say,
Absolutely.
what's happening at the Grand?
Absolutely.
And you get some more patrons that will come in for years to come.
That's what you do. And what is the booking shows like that is the long game of audience development, as a mentor of mine once said.
There you go. Again, we're talking to Sean Wright, the executive director of the Grand Theater of Wausau, here on 98.9 WXCO. As you said, what's it like having this break at this time of year? It's sort of as you said, it's kind of odd, isn't it?
It is really strange for us to have. It's great for everybody because obviously we roared out of the holidays with a really, really busy schedule, and then truthfully, once we get through this break, the schedule is pretty crazy all the way until May 10th. In fact, there's a few stretches in there that you're like, oh, that's going to be a real bear. But it's nice. It allows us to, one, obviously, this is the time of year when it's super cold and super snowy and all these things that a 98 going on 99-year-old building decides to show you all of the challenges.
Oh boy!
And of course, when a lot of these challenges are scheduled to be rectified here in a few months. And so, so facilities and tech busy dealing with some of those things, dealing with some of the things that you just don't have time to do when you're so busy. And then, frankly, in our world, administrative wise, it is really kind of the key time for booking all of next year's shows, plus gives us as a team an opportunity to sort of have a reset on, the Second Century campaign and just catch up on some of the things that need to happen and some of the things that we have to do, like move out of our buildings and how do we, where do we go? How do we store things and everything else? Because, those things suddenly, you don't think about those until it's suddenly time to think about those.
Moving stinks.
Yes.
Even if you're just moving to move back.
Absolutely.
You're still moving. You're actually moving twice.
Yes.
How is it going? I mean, have you started that process? Where are you and the other folks at the Grand in that process of thinking about making sure everything is ready when it needs to be ready for this incredible summer that is going to be coming?
Yeah, we're definitely at that point that we're trying to find, where our sort of public facing location will be. That's the one thing that's different for us than a lot of businesses is, if you're a law firm and your offices are getting redone, you move everybody off site or you move everybody to home, but we still need to have a public box office, a public administrative office for people to buy tickets, do all the things that we do. So trying to find a public space for part of our team, and then finding space for the rest of our team to work. And then really the craziest thing is you just don't realize how much is in a theater, the lighting, alone, the racks and racks of lighting that are in a gigantic storage room right now in the basement that all have to come out because that room's being redone. And things like, the main curtain is being replaced. It's time to replace that. Obviously, it needs to match the seats, but all of our other soft goods, all the legs, the travelers, the cyc, those are all new within the last 5 to 6 years. So we're not replacing those,
Right.
but they all need to go somewhere that is dust free and that temperature controlled, humidity controlled. So yeah, it's been an interesting process as we've tried to work with some, some of the folks who have different real estate holdings in our community and where we can live for a few months to go back, and then just trying to figure out with our contractor, what spaces do we need to be out of first? How long does it take for us to get out of spaces? Because literally we have a show on Saturday, May 8th, and construction slated to begin on Monday, May 10th. So
fun.
Yeah. So not exactly the like, and now we closed on that house and we have 3 weeks to get out of our other house. No. So
unbelievable. But again, the excitement is got to be building because you know what's coming. And it's like just fantastic for the community, and I think for you and everybody else at the Grand as well.
Yeah, it is. It's it's great to see the project sort of coming together on the on the construction side and with all of our various subcontractors and partners and everything. And yes, we know it's going to be here before we know it. At the same time, it's we have a lot to get through until that point, both in shows and what we're doing, and then obviously we still have money to raise. But it is exciting to think about what's ahead, and it's great to know that our our construction team and folks at Myron they feel like we're in a good place. So you just kind of have to take them at their word and move forward.
Exactly. What's happening? What after you get back? There's some shows here coming up soon.
Absolutely.
Who's coming?
It's Super Bowl weekend, and so why not bring that beloved Scottish nanny, Mrs. Doubtfire, to town for 2 shows on that Saturday, because we said don't give us a Sunday show. The Packers are going to be in the Super Bowl. Well, we tried. We did our part.
You're so optimistic.
Exactly. So 2 shows of Mrs. Doubtfire coming up a week from Saturday. Still maybe 150, 170 tickets left for each performance, so they're definitely going fast, and just going to be a really fun day, fun 2-show day. We don't have a lot of those in the Broadway world. And then a couple of other really exciting upcoming shows. Mark Twain Tonight with the great Richard Thomas. Of course, people of a certain age know him as John Boy Walton on the Waltons, but he's been on Broadway, was Atticus Finch on the national tour of To Kill a Mockingbird, and was on Ozark as well. And in fact, that will be the Wisconsin premiere of his version of Mark Twain Tonight. He's the first one to do it since Hal Holbrook, who of course originated it and did it for so many years. And that tour got very truncated because just as soon as they booked it, Mr. Thomas is going to star in a show on Broadway coming up in March. So we will not only be the Wisconsin debut premiere of it, we're the only Wisconsin date of this current tour. So that comes up a little later in February, and just all kinds of things from the Peking Acrobats to the Three American Troubadours and a lot of other shows as we dive into February.
And one I noticed that I love to see the legends come. Judy Collins.
Judy Collins
in about a month.
Absolutely. I mean, just an absolute legend, and Grammy Award winner, Academy Award nominated documentary filmmaker.
Wow.
I had no idea until I was doing some research on it. And I think the thing that's amazing is, Judy's in her 80s now, and her last album, 2023, was nominated for a Grammy for Best Folk Album. I mean, like that. Wow.
And the person behind Sweet Judy Blue Eyes.
Exactly.
Stills and Nash.
Exactly. Yeah. Just such a talented artist. And so, yeah, that's one we're really, really excited about coming up.
Fantastic. And again, for folks who want more information, you know where to go.
You do. It's grandtheaterer.org, or, for more information about the Second Century campaign, visit grand100.org. We, this Friday is actually 100 days to closure. So we've got a lot of things that we're going to be rolling out over the next 30 days, really, about how the public can get involved, and a lot of behind the scenes things and ways for us to just sort of ramp up the excitement toward what's going to be a really transformative summer.
Hey, how's the fundraiser coming along?
We're working our way towards that. We are closing in on $14 million. Still have another $3 million to go. So anybody has extra change in their couch cushions, we're happy to take it. But
there you go, Ian.
Exactly. But we are going to part of that 100 days is we're going to announce the details and name a seat so that people can have their opportunity to put their name on a seat as we bring in new seats for the first time in about 60 years. They're slightly needed.
Fantastic. Again, Sean, always good to see you.
Yep.
Stay warm, and we'll catch you in a couple of weeks.
Sounds great.
That is Sean Wright, again, Executive Director of the Grand Theater. We're going to take a quick time out and then come back with more. Chad Holmes Show, 98.9 WXCO.
Can you put your hands in your head? Oh no, I said dreamer.
For WXCO News, I'm Isabella Nieto. A Marathon County local is in the running for both state and local office. Yiling Xiong is the executive director of New Beginnings for Refugees, a nonprofit aimed at supporting refugees in the Wausau area. He's also an incumbent in the race for the DC Everest School Board and for the Marathon County Board of Supervisors. Now, he's thrown his hat into the ring for state treasurer.
The state treasurer position, often people look at that position and feel that it's a ceremonial position, but it's not. It's about accountability. This position here has held accountable by the Wisconsinites. It's not accountable to the governor or the state legislator.
Xiong is the DC Everest Area School District Board treasurer and represents District 19 on the county board. He says if he wins state treasurer, he would reevaluate his positions locally. But for now, he has plans to continue his campaigns in all three races.
I'm very passionate about the school district. I'm passionate about counties. So I want to make sure that all my residents, all my constituents are taken care of anyway here, especially the students, because the most important assets that we have is our people.
Xiong also says his time as a nonprofit executive director has taught him how to deal with budgets and how to stretch every last dollar.
As the state treasurer, one of my goals here is to be working on that intentional effort and grassroots effort to ensure that there is accountability, there is transparency, returning money back to individuals, expanding financial literacy, and working with partners, building coalitions to address the affordability crisis in the state of Wisconsin here.
Current state treasurer John Leiber, a Republican, is seeking re-election. On the Democratic side, Xiong faces Dylan Helmenstein, a Black Earth Village trustee and school board member, and Eric Wilson, a small business owner and IT project manager, according to the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel. I'm Isabella Nieto for WXCO News.
So, how are the kids?
Well, Emily made the honor roll.
Oh, good for her.
Yeah, we're really proud of her. Tyler, on the other hand, though.
What's going on?
He's been moody lately, just feeling down and not like himself.
Oh, we've been there. Nick was struggling last spring. He was so anxious and stressed.
Really? What helped?
Well, he joined the soccer team. And ever since, he's been a lot happier. He has more energy, he's less stressed, and he's definitely in a better mood at home. It's made a huge difference.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I'm glad he's getting out of the house, he's getting some exercise, and he's off his phone for once. It's been good for his mental health.
Sounds like it's been good for your mental health, too.
Participating in Wisconsin high school sports improves students' physical and mental health. Encourage your son or daughter to get involved. This message presented by the WIAA and the Wisconsin Athletic Directors Association.
You see the face on the TV screen, coming at you every Sunday. See the face on the billboard, well, that man is me. On the cover of the magazine, there's no question why I'm smiling. You buy a piece of paradise, you buy a piece of me. I'll get you everything you wanted, I'll get you everything you need. You don't need to believe in hereafter, just believe in me. Cause he knows me, and he knows I'm right. I've been talking to Jesus all
Time again.
Chad Holmes Show.
Yes, he knows me.
live online, WXCO.FM, and the Civic Media app, Sports 2 stream on YouTube, youtube.com, and the 98.9 WXCO channel. Yes, it is. It is time. And the thing about it is, I want to kind of explain, this is not a personal attack, anything like that, but it, as Mr. Conley has said, he's got a very highly rated radio station.
Yes,
a lot of folks here in central Wisconsin tune in to hear what he has to say. And for many years, that was the only voice in terms of talk radio that was out there. There was not a alternative to what WSAU was putting out. Now, I take it as a great responsibility to be able to have a microphone in front of me, to be able to talk about some of these issues, to be able to give maybe a different perspective on it, because some folks will hear, well, my friend Chris here says that there should be no retreat and the mob cannot be allowed to win. Well, that's good enough for me. No, I do not believe in that. And based on, again, what over the last couple of days, we have seen a retreat by the Trump administration. We have seen Greg Bovino be called from Minneapolis. We have seen talk that even Kristi Noem could be put on the sidelines for this. We have seen Trump calling Tim Walz and trying to talk things over with him. We're seeing that they realize what happened Saturday in Minneapolis was not good for them. It was not good for this occupation of Minneapolis. But over the last couple of days, somebody that has stayed very much in his tracks in terms of saying that the administration should not pull back in any way, and saying that basically that in some way, again, Preddy deserved what he got, in a sense. Not exactly, but I mean, he says Preddy was another protester who was interfering with ICE law enforcement action, and he was armed. He went through all the excuses in his commentary on Monday. He says that what happened was ultimately unclear. I think I would disagree with that. That many different angles were shown of what happened to Alex Preddy.
Agreed.
And I think it's in some ways cruel to, again, try to imply that in some way he had it coming. No, he was there helping a woman who was knocked down by the ICE officers get to her feet.
He did not have his hand. He did not have a weapon in his hand.
No.
He had his hand up like this because he was he was telling them that he was trying to help her.
I will agree with something he said in his commentary Monday. He said, this is madness. I certainly agree with that.
Yeah.
But he thinks it's madness in a different way. He says these protests are illegal right after that. So again, he says, and I'll give him credit. He says, I don't want to see any more protesters killed, even those who go beyond the limit of what's legal. He has to put that qualifier in there.
Of course.
He says, the question now becomes which side stands down. He says the demonstrations in Minneapolis are illegal and not constitutionally protected. He says asking federal law enforcement to step aside is unimaginable. And then yesterday he says no retreat. The mob cannot be allowed to win. He mentioned that conservative outlets such as the Wall Street Journal and the New York Post ran editorials that called for Trump to reassess and reset ICE actions in Minneapolis. He says, no, that is the wrong way to go.
Well, what would he do?
He says ICE is completely within its jurisdiction to locate, apprehend, and deport those who are in the country illegally. And he says that if they are removed, the message would be that an unruly mob took over the streets and disrupted ICE operations to get their way. He says street violence cannot prevail over legitimate law enforcement. I would disagree very respectfully that idea that this is legitimate law enforcement. This is not legitimate law enforcement.
No, it is not.
It is illegitimate law enforcement. And if it's okay with him, because if this continues the way it's gone, we will see more deaths. We saw a couple of weeks ago a mother who had just dropped off her child at school be shot and then have the shooter say, bleep and bleep. Effing bleep. after the shooting where he killed her.
Unacceptable.
And then we saw what we saw on Saturday. A good man was killed for no good reason. No good reason.
A man who has devoted his life as a nurse in make sure I'm getting this right here. He was a nurse in a clinic?
Veterans Hospital.
Okay. He was a nurse at a veterans hospital. He dedicated his life to helping others. And in his last act on this earth, he was helping a woman who fell. And for that, he was executed in broad daylight.
Yep. And
I'm sorry, but that's the truth.
He talked about an appeals court ruling that struck down a ruling from last week that put limits on what ICE can do when confronted by protesters. He says the ruling said plainly that most of the protesters' actions are illegal and that ICE agents can defend themselves. Again, is he saying that basically there are no rules, again, for these ICE agents? Because obviously he thinks the ICE agents were defending themselves against Alex Preddy.
Completely justified in their actions is what he's saying.
And he keeps talking about how violent they are. Because that's what the right does. They try to make it, everything is so violent. The violence are coming from the ICE officers, not the protesters. The ICE officers are the violent ones.
There wasn't an angry mob. It was just a Peretti there. There was no angry mob that was shouting or cursing or trying to attack the ICE agents. It was a man who was trying to help someone in need. There was no angry mob.
And I find it interesting that today in his commentary, he doesn't talk about Minneapolis. He talks about grocery prices in Mandela Barnes. So interesting.
Of course, he tries to pull focus on something else.
Interesting. I wonder if he's still all in on keeping up what's been going on. So again, it's a situation where we have a voice that is calling for more of the same in Minneapolis. And while even the Trump administration is showing signs that more of the same is not going to occur, you still have this voice in our community that is listened to by many people.
Yeah,
and I think it's important to provide maybe a different perspective on that. So
he says multiple times that I have higher ratings,
and he does.
It's not about the numbers; it's about the issues, sir. It's about keeping people informed. It's about telling both sides of the story, and even if you don't agree, you should be allowed to at least hear both sides of the story, and then you can decide for yourself.
I mean, yeah. I know he talked about women's sports again. I'm sure it's talking about that's the big issue on the right. So, I mean, again, it's one of those situations where, hey, he's got every right to think what he wants, and he has every right to get in front of his microphone and say what he believes. But I think I have a responsibility to provide a different perspective as well, because I do think it's important. And I think that continuing along the same lines that he would like to see ICE and Trump continue will lead to more innocent deaths, bottom line. And I don't want to see that.
No.
It's heartbreaking what happened Saturday. At least to me, it's heartbreaking. I don't know if it's to him or not, but it's heartbreaking what happened, because it was an innocent man who was killed. Innocent. And I use that, innocent. It was nothing grainy about this.
He was trying to help someone. And for that,
it was nothing, as it was not, as he said, what happened during the Saturday shooting of Alex Preddy is ultimately unclear. I think it's fairly clear.
And people are trying to slander his name in the mud now by trying to dig up dirt on him, which I hope is.
And even the Trump administration is backing away from some of that talk. So that, I mean, even they've realized they've gone too far there.
At least they're doing a little something.
There you go. And I will agree with that. So yeah,
it's not much, but at least they're stepping back from doing something like that, because the fact that they were even thinking about doing that just is wrong.
It's never too late to do the right thing, and we will hope that folks do the right thing when it comes to this occupation in Minneapolis. We got to take a time out. The time is 9:50. Weather-wise, again, it's a chilly start. We've been saying that for a number of days.
It is going to get better, though.
Yes, it will. That's the good news. The weather will get better. But right now, here at our studios at the corner of Washington Street and North 3rd Street in downtown Wausau, 1 degree below zero. It is going to be a chilly one for the rest of today. Partly sunny, high near 5 above zero. Those wind chill factors will remain between 10 and 20 below. Tonight, partly cloudy, a low of 11 below. Partly sunny and cold tomorrow, a high near 7. And mostly sunny Friday with a high of 12. Sunny skies will continue Saturday with a high of 21. So, again, something to look forward to.
Absolutely.
Something to look forward to as well as our daily history lesson and our number for the day quiz, which is coming up next here on 98.9 WXCO. On Thursday night, the Wausau West High School boys basketball team makes the short trip to D.C. Everest for a Wisconsin Valley Conference matchup. Hear all the exciting action live on 98.9 WXCO, online at WXCO.FM, mobile devices and Alexa by searching WXCO, and on the Civic Media app, starting with the pregame show at 7 p.m. and the opening tip at 7:15. Wausau West basketball on 98.9 WXCO is brought to you by Rocket Industrial and the Wausau Business Show, Sun Printing, the Wausau West Athletic Department, Mike Whitmore Construction, the Cloverbelt Credit Union, sponsor of the Cloverbelt Credit Union broadcast booth, and Operating Engineers Local 139, our high school ultimate sports sponsor. It's Wausau West at DC Everest and high school boys basketball. Thursday night, starting with the pregame show at 7, opening tip at 7:15 on 98.9 WXCO, WXCO.FM, mobile devices and Alexa by searching WXCO, and on the Civic Media app.
Local radio thrives when it serves the community. WXCO is no different, and we're looking to add someone to our staff that is well connected around town. Someone who can help our local businesses increase traffic and their visibility among our audience. From connecting clients with high school sports, local news and weather, or the Chad Holmes Show. If you know local business owners, we'd like to get to know you. If you'd like to know more about this opportunity, send me, Chad Holmes, a message at chad.holmes@civicmedia.us. That's chad.holmes@civicmedia.us. And let's set up a time to talk.
A game without a crowd is just a scrimmage. A performance without an audience is just a rehearsal. Without your presence, high school sports and the performing arts aren't possible. Ensure that these essential extracurricular activities continue to enrich the lives of students in Wisconsin. Purchase a ticket to your local high school's game or performance.
This message presented by the WIAA and the Wisconsin Athletic Directors Association.
I used to fool around, but I couldn't take punishment and had to settle down. Now I'm playing it real straight, and guess I cut my hair. You might think I'm crazy, but I don't even care, 'cause I can tell what's going on. It's hip to be square. It's hip to be square. I watch them on TV. I'm working out most every day and watching what I eat. They tell me that it's good for me, but I don't even care.
And welcome back. It is Chad Holmes Show, live on WXCO.FM and the Civic Media app, Sports Stream 2, and on YouTube.com and the 98.9 WXCO channel. It is Wednesday, January the 28th of 2026. Some famous events that have occurred on this date in history. I remember this one because it was a very sad day in 1986. On January the 28th of 1986, barely a minute after the space shuttle had blasted off the Challenger at 11:38 a.m., television audiences across the United States witnessed the craft break apart in a fiery explosion. What was meant to be a joyous moment instantly became one of the greatest tragedies in American space history.
I remember worrying about that in elementary school.
Yeah. There were
It
no
was very
survivors
sad.
among the 7 crew members, including the first teacher in space, Krista McAuliffe. So,
Oh man.
again, that was a tragedy. Her students were in the auditorium watching. We had cameras that were watching the celebratory launch, and then, of course, just barely over a minute later, the explosion happened.
May they never be forgotten.
Yep. So it was definitely a case of a sad day in American history. Some other events that occurred on this date in history. On this date in 1912, painter Jackson Pollock, a leading exponent of abstract expressionism, was born in Cody, Wyoming. On this date in 1915, the U.S. Congress created the Coast Guard by combining the Revenue Cutter Service with the U.S. Life Saving Service.
I did not know that.
On this date in 1955, former French President Nicolas Sarkozy was born in Paris. And on this date in 2021, Cicely Tyson, who is noted for her vivid portrayals of strong African-American women, died at the age of 96. Lived a very long and prosperous life.
Absolutely.
All right, well, let's do our number for the day quiz.
Okay. It's not about ice, is it?
No, it's...
Okay, good.
Well, it's still sort of the sad one because it'll be involving the space shuttle. But what we do is every day we wrap up the show by giving Ian Welsh an opportunity for the number for the day quiz. The number for the day is a number that has some relevance to what either is happening or has happened on this date in history. 3 choices are given for the topic, one of which is correct. So based on the math, you should get 1 out of 3 right by just guessing. That's 33%. So anything above 33% is a passing grade. Any week he has more right than wrong is a winning week. If he has 4 out of 5 right, he gets an A grade, and 5 out of 5 is a perfect week, gold star perfect week.
That's right.
And so far this week, you are 1 out of 2. So
Yeah.
you're off to a good start.
In a good place. Yep.
As I mentioned, is the anniversary of the Space Shuttle Challenger explosion in 1986. The number for the day is...
Okay.
What number space shuttle mission was that?
What
The
number?
space shuttle program had started in the early 1980s. How many times had the space shuttle launched, including the Challenger? So what mission number was it for the space shuttle? How many times had the space shuttle gone into space?
What mission?
All right, your choices are 10 times, 15 times, or 20 times.
What mission was the Challenger space shuttle?
Yep. So what number was the mission for the Space Shuttle Challenger on this date in 1986?
10, 15, or 20, right?
That is correct.
Okay. I'm going to say final answer. I'm going to go with a 10. A Challenger 10 final answer.
On this date in 1986, Space Shuttle Challenger lifted off. It was the 10th Space Shuttle mission.
Oh, I got it right.
You got it right. So you're 2 out of 3.
Wow, very good place to be right now.
You've clinched a passing grade.
Very nice.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thanks again to Katie Rosenberg for joining us. Thanks again as well to Sean Wright for the Grand Theater as well. Ian, see you later tonight because we have the big high school sports show.
Yes, we do. Happy Wednesday, everybody.
Yep, and we'll be back here for the Chad Holmes Show tomorrow morning at 8:06 on 98.9 WXCO.